In this video, I will give you 7 engagement techniques to adopt as a remote Scrum Master. Be it sprint planning, daily Scrum, retrospectives, reviews, or refinements, as a Scrum Master to a remote team, you spend a significant amount of time collaborating with your team virtually. Let's be honest, remote teams come with a fair share of impediments, and I'm pretty sure that you have to deal with people who are at different energy levels. You might have witnessed sleepy team members because it is too early for them, some might be tired because it's too late, and even some who are annoyingly energetic because for them it is early morning and they just had their 7th cup of coffee. Crazy, but true. Also, don't forget about the cultural difference and the fact that English is not everyone's native language. With all these impediments in place, you may run into some difficulties while facilitating remote collaborations. After serving as a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Coach of Agile Coaches, a professional leadership coach, and now an Agile advisory to C-level executives, I have a few tricks up my sleeve to help you bypass these impediments. Let's get started. Number 1, ask questions. Now, this may sound a bit of a cliche, but asking questions is number 1 and 90% of the time the only skill you need to survive as a coach and a Scrum Master. But there is one technique in particular that takes your questioning skills to another level, and that is to ask the same question in multiple ways. If a question is not understood well, phrasing it another way may make a lot of sense. For example, a question like, "We have missed multiple sprint goals and I want us to understand why." This question may leave the listener wondering if you want a discussion around the concern or suggesting everyone find their own answers. We can rephrase the same question into, "What do you believe could be the underlying cause for missing sprint goals multiple times in a row?" An open-ended question like this communicates to the listeners that you are looking for them to discuss a detailed response. Number 2, direct questions to specific people. For example, a question like, "Hey Mark, what's your opinion on this?" Mark being an imaginary person in your team. A question like this would generally result in one of two outcomes. Mark will either tell you that he doesn't really understand what's going on, or he will express the thoughts he was sitting on. Now, you can use the same technique to encourage participation from the silent members of the team. When the conversation doesn't flow, it's often tempting to just ask the team's loudest members to speak. But that's generally of no use, especially when you need participation from all members of your team. So instead of beginning with easier, more vocal people, start with the silent ones and promote their participation. Number 3, share your personal point of view. Now, as a Scrum Master, you are a neutral facilitator. I have created a video on how to facilitate as a Scrum Master. The link is in this corner for you to check it out. But being a facilitator doesn't mean that you cannot have an opinion, as long as you voice that opinion as a suggestion. You can always provide some advice to your team based on your experience. However, try to do it in the end to prevent influencing the decision. Number 4, suggest something ridiculous. So for example, you might suggest something like, "How about we invite our stakeholders to our retrospectives?" And if the suggestion is stupid enough, which it is, inviting stakeholders to your retrospectives is a bad idea unless otherwise decided as a whole team. So if your suggestion/question is stupidly ridiculous, someone is bound to tell you why it won't work, which is precisely the excuse you need to ask, "Well, what could work then?" Number 5, use your sense of humor. Now, you may come to me and say, "Vibor, I do not have a sense of humor." Well, guess what? Neither do I. Here's what to keep in mind though. You do not need to make people belly laugh. A little lightheartedness may help lift the tone and re-energize the collaboration. Number 6, insert breaks. Long meetings call for breaks, and in online collaborations where there are no visual cues, it is difficult to guess when to take a break. For this reason, online collaborations demand some sort of a structure. So either set a 10 to 15-minute break in the middle of a longer meeting, or if you sense that the group has become dull, you can ask if someone wants to take a break. Surprisingly enough, what you will find is that the answer to this question is always a unanimous yes. Number 7, change the subject. As the saying goes, it's pointless to pursue a lost cause. If you're not making progress as a team, consider exploring another topic that requires your attention, something that is less ambiguous than the previous one. You can also insert a short retro. You do not have to wait until the end of the sprint to do a retrospective. You may reflect on the collaboration so far in the middle of the meeting and ask, "Is this going well, or should we take a different approach?" Also, note if people are worn out and tired. Collaborations doesn't have to be stressful. If that's the case, adjourn and continue the next day. Let me tell you a secret. There is always the next day. So there you have it, 7 techniques to help you keep your team engaged when going gets tough. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to provide your valuable feedback in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.